And welcome to our live stream at this hour. I'm Youyang in Zhuhai City, Guangdong Province. Well, the 14th China International Aviation and Aerospace Exhibition is here underway. And today, if you can hear the loud sound, that means there's an air show underway. So please come along with us, take a look at the air shows. But first, we're going to pay visit to a very special aircraft. It's actually a Boeing 737-800, belongs to China Southern Airlines. So, but at the same time, it's also narrating the stories of Zhuhai. So how can the plane do that? First, let me introduce our guest today. So if you hear that loud noise, that means there's the air show in the air. So first, let me introduce our guest today, who is Mr. Li Wei. He's the captain of China Southern Airlines and also the deputy general manager of the China Southern Airlines Zhuhai branch. And also let's welcome Mr. Yang Shu, and he's in charge of the Yang Shu Insights on Chinese social media platform Weibo. 那今天呢，非常欢迎我们的李维总和杨叔加入我们今天的这个直播当中来。那李维总，您作为一名资深的飞行员哈，应该直飞了737-800很多次了吧？
Captain for this model of Boeing 737-800. I've been flying this model for 14 years. Before this one, I've also flown with the model 757. I have already carried out more than 19,000 hours of the flight. And for Mr. Yang, is it also first time for you to get so closer to this model? Yes, exactly. So together, please follow us in our exploration for this model 737-800. We know, Captain Li, that every day, in the very beginning of your duty, you have to check out the plane. So what are the specifics to look at? This is a must in our to-do list. We have to check out the external structure to see whether it's intact and complete. We have to check out all the equipment. After the check, we can allow the utilization and transportation by this airplane. We will do the clockwise tool investigation. In total, 10 to 20 minutes. For example, now we are at the head section of our plane. On surface, we also have very beautiful painting. The name of this one is Vigor. It's quite different from all the other models because it's coated by the beautiful colors. And for Mr. Yang, can you tell the shapes and also the patterns? This is a beautiful dolphin, isn't it? And so could you please give us more explanation about this one? In June 2020, for the China Southern Airlines and also the city of Zhuhai have signed an agreement of strategic cooperation. We have decided to paint 2 models of the planes to show the landmarks of the city of Zhuhai. And this is like the visiting card. We have one youth model, and this one is called the Vigor model. Last year, I have also carried out a flight with the other model called the Youth during the air show of the previous edition. For the Vigor and also the Youth, those are the key positioning keywords selected by the municipal government of Zhuhai to describe the city. This is the Vigor plane, and here we have painted the image of the dolphin. We have the white dolphin in our city by the estuary. Because Zhuhai City is located by the seaside, we have noticed activities of the white dolphins. That's why people have selected the image of the white dolphin as the symbol of this city. And why this blue color? Because for the whole model, we have decided to use the blue color to represent the message, the key message that is Vigor. For the other model that is named as the youth, we have chosen another color that is green. And this is also the result of our discussion with the citizens. And now we come to the most important part of our tour investigation. Yes, exactly. This is the most important part of our plane. It's just like the heart of our human beings. Here is the engine part. We have two engines here. They are CFM 56 model of the engine. It's highly reliable and it's very safe. They are one of the top engines in the whole world. When you check out the engines, what details will you look at? For example, we have to look at the surface components of those engines. Are there depressions? Or during the takeoff or the landing, are there depressions caused by the inhaled unwanted objects, impurities, or the burrs? What about the other details to check? Another important part impacting the security of our trip. This one looks like the tire. This is our landing gear. This is the landing gear of our plane, without which we cannot ensure the safe taxiing of our plane on the runway, and neither can we guarantee a very safe trip of all our passengers. Without the landing gear, then our plane has to lie on its belly. We have also added the nitrogen, because nitrogen cannot cause the combustion easily. That's why we have to choose this gas instead of the oxygen or the other combustible gases. When we use the brake a lot, then there's great heat. We also have to use this to bring down the temperature. What about that part? Looks very strange and it's very interesting. I've never imagined such a part. And inside, it seems that we have already embedded a lot of equipment. That is the cabin for the land gear. Now it's a void, it's like an empty room, because we now take out the landing gear. Once we are in the mid-air, we have to withdraw all those landing gear, and they will all be incorporated inside that void. And we also have other equipments, for example, the firefighting system and also the hydraulic pressure system, etc. If you are interested, then we can go nearer and have a look. It's the first time for me to look at a plane in this way. So, Captain Lee, could you please give us more details? We have the hydraulic pressure system and also firefighting devices and equipment inside. For example, in a corner, you can find the two bottles. Inside, you have the devices for the firefighting. If there is the warning signal from the system telling us there's a risk of the fire, then we will use these ones to put out the fire. Is it an automatic process? First of all, it's been connected with our cockpit. When it's confirmed by our pilot, we can activate that firefighting system. We also have the hydraulic pressure system. For our planes, if we do the manipulation in the manual way with the joystick, then we have to use a lot of strength. With the hydraulic pressure system, it will be easier. So this is a very important but small in size cabin that can assist our daily operation. We have to check out this cabin to see if there's the leakage of the fuel. Now we are by the tail parts of our airplane. What is it? It's the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macao Bridge. Yes, exactly. That is also one of the local highlights of the city of Zhuhai. We have connected Hong Kong, Zhuhai, and Macau, three cities. of China. And there's also a miracle for the construction. And for Mr. Yang, have you ever visited this bridge in person? Not yet. But I've already admired this grand bridge from distance. I'm looking forward to one personal visit on this bridge. Very often we can have a bird's eye view from the air to see this bridge. And we've noticed that for the conjunction part, it's underwater, so it's just like two dragons injecting into the water. That's marvelous. And thank you for that very special perspective for the admiration. In recent years, this grand bridge has facilitated the daily life of our people. Have you ever driven on the grand bridge? Not yet. But I believe in the future you can drive on this new bridge. Over the past decades, we have achieved so much success in different aspects of our country's development. We're also very proud that today our country is capable of building such a grand bridge. What about you, Mr. Yang? What's your feeling about this bridge? We really hope that this bridge can connect the three places and have its role played out. Now, Captain Li, we already complete half of our check mission because we turned to the other side of the plane. Now we have ignored some part that is also very important, the wings. What about your inspection details for the wings? Here you can see three parts. I have a question for you. What is the role of this one? I think it may help to save more fuel. Actually, it's to serve the purpose of safety guarantee during the takeoff and also the landing. Especially during the landing and the takeoff, we have to guarantee the speed. For example, when we would like to fly at minimum speed, we have to withdraw this part, to tighten this part. In order to increase the uplifting power, in many places that we usually ignore, there are a lot of motions and activities carried out by our parts of the planes. Later on, I'm about to show you more details in the cockpit. Now we reached another size motor. In the past, I've run into a photo in which one captain during his routine check has entered almost totally inside this part to check out the motor. Is that often? Yes, sometimes we have to check out whether there are unwanted objects inside. Especially today when we have better environmental conditions, we have more birds flying around, and sometimes the birds can fly into the engine. If they are inside, this will cause some impair to our parts of the plane. We will see whether we have the feathers of the birds inside or even some blood traces. If there is such a trace, we have to do the cleansing. We also have to check out whether the internal part of our motor is intact and still very safe. Again, we have to be very prudent to guarantee the whole safety of our trip. Sometimes we will just insert our body inside to see more details about the engine. And also for this model Boeing 737, it's not a perfect round circle. It's more like a flattened one. So why this shape with the engine in the Boeing 737? You are a very careful observer. And for the design of this model, Boeing 737, the first design of the first generation of this Boeing 737 in the 1950s the company did not carry out significant readjustments afterwards. And because it's being designed in the early days, back then we have a smaller size of the landing gear. Because we have a smaller size of that landing gear, so the total distance between the body of the plane from the ground is quite limited. It should be a perfect round shape. However, in order to save up more space, we have to make it a little bit like the oval. We have to flatten it a little bit. It's not like the Airbus designed in later days. So by then, we have already larger size of the landing gear. So for Mr. Yang, do you know any other airplane models, motors that are impressive ones? For example, with the Y-20, in the very beginning, we think that tube is very small. We think there would be a problem with the thrust. Currently, we have made that tube stronger in diameter, larger in diameter. We replaced the old one by a new one that is developed by our own country. So today, this Y-20 of the newer generation has received a greater capacity of the thrust. That is also a greater help. Now we are inside the cabin of the Boeing 737. We have already gained more knowledge about the external structure. So now we are at the gate of the cockpit. Can I go inside? Yes, of course. Welcome. It's also the most beautiful studio in the world, and also the best decorated office because you are surrounded by the blue sky and also the white clouds. Usually it's the captain that is located to the left seat and the co-pilot to the right-hand side. Or the coach. We also have the observer's seat, now occupied by Mr. Yang. So usually in the cockpit, you have 3 people. Yes, it happens. But for the seat design, we have the 2 pilots. Sometimes, for some lines, there will be 3 people. And today we will ask Mr. Yang to role-play the 3rd guy as the observer in the cabin, in the cockpits. A brief introduction to this cockpit. This is a classical one for Boeing models of the planes. For example, you have the dashboard. If you look at the other models of the Airbus, then the joystick is by the side. It's a lateral one, but here, this one is just in front of you. We can also do that with a lateral joystick. However, the company has decided to keep that old-school feeling for our captain and pilots. For example, for the climbing up and also for the descending, this is a key part for you to manipulate the plane. And previously, we have also mentioned about the wings, the tails, etc. You can control all those parts with this dashboard. And here you can also read out the height. You can give the orders. You can control the height of the flight in the air, just as on the ground. There are traffic system commands, and you have to respect the rules. Otherwise, you will collide with the other planes. And on ground, for the vehicles, it's a 2D system. It's easier for each other to see, to witness the others coming up. But here we are more like in a 3D system. In different angles, different perspectives, you can have all the planes flying around. And we also have so many buttons. Could you please just pick some of the most important ones and give us a brief introduction? Just now we have talked about the engine that is considered as the heart of our plane. So the most important one, this is the throttle to control the strength of the thrust. With this, you can control the speed of the flight. When we do the landing, you have to reduce the thrust. And also after the landing, you also have to bring the speed down continuously. You have to bring down the speed from a flight model to a taxi model. And here we also have many more dashboards. This one is the PFD. It should be this one. By the two ends, we have the PFDs, with which we can control the positioning of our planes. And more in the middle, we have the ND, navigation display. We have the map. First of all, we can make an input of our destination. And then this can be displayed through our dashboard. Then we have a map for our air system. Here it looks like a small tire. What is it? This is the landing gear controlling part. For Boeing model, we have maintained a lot of old-school design features. For many latest models, this one would look much smaller. In front of us, we also have this complicated system of the devices. This is for telecommunication and navigation. For example, this one is to enable the dialogue between the sky and also the ground. We can stay in touch with the ground to receive the order from the command tower, and then we can also coordinate all the flights to keep every flight in a very safe status. And there are also many errors. This is to control the volume. Clockwise is to turn up the volume of the sound. If we want now, we can hear the sound of our command tower. We also have the microphone. China Southern Airlines. What is the weather today and also the wind speed in Zhuhai City? Roger that. Thank you. Goodbye. That's so cool. What do you think, Mr. Yang? In the past, we only witnessed that scenario in the movie. We can also do the captain's broadcasting with this system. And this is a must for the China Southern Airlines. This is a way to improve the quality of the experience of our passengers. During the flight, if we can hear the sound of our captain, we will feel more assured and also more comfortable. Yes, I still remember one flight to Singapore, and we heard that broadcasting from our captain. We feel very close to the captain. And sometimes when there's an emergency, in this time it's very important for our passengers to get the message from the captain, especially a message delivered in a very steady voice. For example, in the past, with one model Airbus 330, from a flight from Zhuhai to Beijing, during the flight, one of the engines has been deactivated. And by then, immediately the captain has delivered an assuring message to our passengers, saying that, please don't worry, everyone, we will carry all of you to the destination without any problem. We will ensure a very safe trip because we are professional pilots and we are fully trained. And I also know that during your daily training, you have also practiced a lot for the handling of the emergency situations. So for all the captains, they are capable of bringing all our passengers safely to the destination. Today, we also have adopted the most advanced methodology for the training. In the simulation exercises, we have trained our pilots in a very strict way, and we have applied high standards. We will make sure that all of them can meet the highest demand, especially for our captains. We don't allow those incapable captains to come to the workplace. And in the domestic market, China Southern Airlines are doing very well, and also in the whole world. We have kept a very good record for the safety flight, a great honor for us to see the cockpit, and thanks to your collaboration, we have also heard the voice of the control tower. We hope that someday we can learn more from you. Now, I'll just give the floor to my colleague in the cabin for passengers. Now, Mr. Yang, we are in the cabin for passengers. Previously, we mentioned that this is a different plane. This one can tell the story of our city of Zhuhai. So I'd like to introduce the flight attendant chief of the flight attendants. You're very familiar with this plane. Yes, exactly. I've been working on this plane for many, many times, but each time I'm refreshed. And why this beautiful decoration with the painting? Because we would like to do the demonstration of the vigor and also a youthful message of our city, not only with the external surface, but also with the inside of our cabin. We have coated all the surfaces with the beautiful paintings. We would like to make the trip more interesting and more comfortable for our passengers. We've also noticed that logo of the China Airshow. Every 2 years, we organize one session of this Airshow China, and this is also one of the important name cards of our city. And when people are on board, they immediately get the message that there's an air show, so they will be interested to have a personal experience with that show. Also, with the front table, you can see we have also printed the paintings, handmade. It's in the shape of a postcard. You can find the stamp and also the zip code of the city of Zhuhai. The painter is actually a very known painter in our city. So during the flight, our passengers would be amazed by this tailored front table. And this is the Gongbei port. And by the side is the Grand Theater of Zhuhai. It's the only opera house built at sea. From the shape of it, you can see it looks like the shell. So this one is also called the shells of the sun and the moon. because Zhuhai, the name in Chinese, means the pearl and the sea. And for this grand opera house, it's a complex of two buildings, one to represent the sun, another to represent the moon. So I'm looking forward to visit that opera house. Have you ever tried this one out to follow some shows? Yes, exactly. After the official opening of that building, we have presented a lot of plays and shows inside. What about you, Mr. Yang? I visited that building, but not yet a show, because each time when I come to the city, it's a very short stay. So really, I hope that someday I can visit that place in person. Yes, earlier in my career, I visited multiple times the city, but not once a personal visit to the opera house. This is the port of Hengqin. Here we have 146 big and small islands, and the Hengqin Island is the biggest under the governance of the government of Zhuhai. So if you have the time and opportunity, you can go and visit the Hengqin Island. You can also have a taste on the local food, especially the seafood. What about you? You have visited that island? Yes, it's very beautiful. Today we are living in big cities, but from time to time we need to go back to the nature. And also another way to unwind is to do some sports. Today we have organized the WTA. Every year we organize one session, and this year is the 5th year of the FTA for the tennis match. Zhuhai City is also an international city. We organize the international match. I'm looking forward to assisting one of those matches. Usually I play tennis myself. And for the players, a good quality playground is always a dream. And the next one is a very famous one. Yes, it's also one symbol of our city is the Lovers' Road. From the name of the road, you can already tell the significance. It's by the seaside. The lovers can take a walk in this romantic area. So it's a total length of 3.7 kilometers stretching from north to south. This is the post office of love. It's a lighthouse to show the directions for our boats. And today for our young lovers, they would like to go there to take beautiful photos. So we have renamed this lighthouse. And also it's a lighthouse for the lovers. They can show the direction for their futures. What about the other recommendations? We have some place called the Tangjia Wan, the Bay of Tangjia. Inside you can find many cultural relics. For example, you can find the sequoia forest, a very densified coverage of the trees. Over there, you can also find the cultural aspect of our Zhuhai City. We have very dynamic aspects of the city represented by the sports matches, and also you have the Bay of the Tangjia. What about the history? At least 500 years dating back to the dynasty of the Mings. It looks beautiful. I'm looking forward to a trip there. In the past, I've missed this beautiful place. It's another part of the Zhuhai City. It's a very mysterious part of this beautiful city of Zhuhai. The Airshow China has become an important symbol of our city of Zhuhai. And another important event is the dragon boat race of Doumen. Every year by the Festival of the Dragon Boat, we will organize the dragon boat race. It's a very wonderful sport event. This can also demonstrate the pioneering spirit of the local citizens. Through this races and match, you can also unwind and lower the pressure brought by the city life. This is also how we pass down the culture, traditional culture from generation to another. No, Mr. Yang, you come from the Sichuan province. In Sichuan province, what about your celebration for the Dragon Boat Festival? We have other interesting events. For example, to make the zongzi, a snack that we make with the glutinous rice, enveloped by the bamboo leaves. Another important symbol is the marathon race of Zhuhai. So here you organize a diversified range of sports events, and we can already feel the vigor. The city, you have the range of 10 kilometers and 21 kilometers for the marathon. It's the semi-marathon. We can accommodate the runners coming from more than 30 regions and countries of the world. And every year we organize this marathon race in December. It's very comfortable, even in December here. And still more races and competitions to come. Yes, and this explains why we call our city a very vigorous one. This is the sailing race. To the second half of the year, we organized the Zhuhai race for the sailing, and it's been the 5th year for our organization of the sailing race. You can do some sport, and also you have the opportunity to admire the beautiful scenes at the sea. Here you are by the seaside, so you have a lot of advantages, and also the Formula One racing. The racing cars. In 1996, you have already constructed that racing field. I think the glamours of the city will continue to shine until the future. Today you have covered not only the sea, but also the ground and also the air sports. So it's a rather dynamic 3D system of the sport. And today, thanks to the connection facilities brought by the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macao Bridge, we are better connected with the neighboring areas. During these few years, especially after the completion of the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macao Bridge, have you noticed any more conveniences brought by this construction project to people's daily life? And have you ever tried out this bridge? Sometimes our passengers would also raise these curious questions about this bridge and also the city. We are very glad to hear those questions. And we also hope that people can visit more the city of Zhuhai and get to know the culture and the people here. That is a wonderful conclusion. This year, by taking this opportunity of the Airshow China 2022, we can get closer to the city. We can see its vigor and glamour. And our local citizen has also extended invitation for every one of our audience to visit the city. And what about you, Mr. Yang? I feel that the weather conditions are really wonderful. You also have very delicious foods here. And you're also a great fan of the military industry. For example, you have mentioned the Y-20. And what are the highlights for this air show? In your opinion, we have the C919 and also the other parades and also the shows. For some civil aviation flights that have also been demonstrated, maybe they cannot do too fancy shows because anyway they are the civil aviation flights, but they can demonstrate the true capacity of our flight industry in the country. And also that show by J20. Days ago, we have covered that show. On the spot, you can hear that really loud sound made by the engine of the J20. It's been several times that we have witnessed that show. Previously, they didn't carry out the landing after the show, but this time, finally, they made that landing after the show. That is a rare moment. In the past, we only witnessed the J20 in the air. And this time, they made a sudden landing without predicting this message to all the fans and journalists. And after that sudden landing, everyone rushed to the site of the landing for the J20. Yes, we were amazed by that moment. Immediately, everyone rushed to the site to have a look at that plane at a closer distance. We were always looking forward to this opportunity to observe more closely the J20. We've checked out the photos online, we've watched the footages online, but finally we can have the opportunity to see with our own eyes the model of the J20. It's also the most advanced model for the military users. We have very high expectations for that, and it has been a very mysterious model for all of us, for all the fans, and also for our journalists from the media. Finally, their curiosity have found an answer. It's been the 14th edition of the Airshow China. Every year we can see more progress. For example, the drones and also the Yilong 1 and Yilong 3. They made their debut on this Airshow China.
Today's live streaming, and today we're paying visit to a very special aircraft, a Boeing 737, and its name is the Vigor, showing the stories of the Zhuhai City. And of course, today we're so lucky we pay a visit to the cockpits and get detailed introduction on how the pilots are working. At the same time, we got our person today, and she's introduced us about the history of the Zhuhai and of course the beautiful landmarks of the Zhuhai. So at the last, let's say welcome to Zhuhai, and that's all for today's live streaming. Okay, so let's say welcome to Zhuhai.
Welcome.
And goodbye.
Bye.
See you next time.